I took my son's Game Boy, lost it for 18 years. So my son was about 10 years old, and like most kids, he was getting way too into his Game Boy Advance, way more than his homework. We're talking full-blown obsession. It was Pokemon this, Mario that, and meanwhile his grades were starting to slip. So being the responsible parent I was, I took the thing away. Told him, "You'll get this back next week when you start doing your homework like you're supposed to." Now, my kid's pretty smart, too smart sometimes. He knew all my usual hiding spots. The drawer in my office, please. The top shelf of the closet, been there, done that. So I thought, okay, I need to get creative. I had to hide it somewhere he'd never think to look. Problem was, I didn't exactly have the world's best memory. I had a traumatic brain injury a few years before this, and let's just say, my brain's filing system wasn't exactly in order. But I thought I'd be fine. I found this super secret hiding spot, so secret, even I wouldn't think to check it. Perfect, right? Fast forward a week and my son had actually done his homework. All of it. He comes up to me with this proud little grin on his face and says, "Dad, can I have my Game Boy back now?" And I'm thinking, sure, I've got this. Let me just grab it real quick. So I head to the first spot where I think I hid it. Nothing. Okay, no big deal. Maybe I put it somewhere else. Check the next spot. Also nothing. That's when I started to get a little nervous. I go to the garage. Nope. The attic? Nada. The sock drawer? Empty. At this point, I've torn apart the entire house and my son's just standing there watching me with this look that says, "You've got to be kidding me." And I'm sitting there, dumbfounded, because I have no idea where this thing went. I mean, how do you lose a Game Boy in your own house? So I had to break the news to him. "Buddy, I can't find it." He just stared at me. "You can't find it?" "Nope, it's gone." "Well, where'd you put it?" And I'm like, if I knew that, I'd have found it already. We searched together for a few days. Well, more like I searched, and he kind of watched me search, clearly thinking, my dad is an idiot. Eventually, we gave up. He wasn't thrilled, but I bought him another game or something to make up for it, and life went on. We even moved a couple of times after that. Packed up everything we owned, still no sign of the GBA. At this point, it was just one of those things that faded into the background of family life, a lost memory, like the socks that vanish in the laundry. Now, fast forward to about 18 years later. Yep, you heard that right. 18 years later. By this time, my son's 28 years old, and we're both adults. I'm going through some old coats in the attic because we're doing this big donation run, right? So, I'm sorting through stuff I haven't touched in God knows how long, and I find this old trench coat. It's this really fancy, vintage Viennese coat from the 1930s. I barely wore it, but it was one of those things you hold on to because it's got sentimental value, you know? Anyway, I'm about to toss it into the donation pile when I notice it feels a little heavy. I reach into the pocket, and what do I pull out? The freaking Game Boy Advance. I swear to you, I just stood there staring at it in disbelief. I could not believe I had hidden it in this coat pocket all those years ago. I immediately fished out some batteries, popped them in, and, this is the craziest part, it turned on. The thing still worked. Pokemon popped up on the screen like no time had passed at all. I took it downstairs, walked up to my son, and handed it to him without saying a word. He looked at me, confused for a second, then realized what it was, and he just lost it. He laughed so hard he almost fell off the couch. Like full-on, uncontrollable, tears in his eyes laughter. He finally catches his breath and says, "Is this the same Game Boy you took away when I was a kid?" "Yep," I said, trying to keep a straight face. "The very same." He didn't stop laughing for 5 minutes. And then, like it was no big deal, he sat down and played it for a few hours, picking right up where he left off 18 years ago, with Pikachu and all his saved Pokemon still there. Of course, later that night, he couldn't wait to tell my wife and the rest of the family. "Hey, did you know Dad lost my Game Boy for 2 decades? So now, anytime they want to make fun of me, and trust me, they do, it's, remember the time Dad lost the Game Boy for 18 years? And I just have to sit there taking it because, well, they're right. I did lose it for almost 20 years. TLDR, took my kid's Game Boy so he'd focus on homework, forgot where I hid it, found it almost 20 years later, and now my family has more proof that I'm an idiot.